welcome back to my channel. It is God's Magic. I hope everyone's doing well today. So today we're jumping back into our King Solomon series, learning about his history and his magics and stuff like that. We left off on chapter 6. We're now moving into chapter 7. And another reason why I have you facing the Bible is because a lot of the times I have to put the picture up there and I'll lose my place really quick. So I'm going to let you see the Bible of the words that I cannot pronounce that pop up. And I will be purposely skipping the ones that I know I cannot pronounce. So if you are like reading along and you see that I skipped a word, it's just because I can't pronounce it. And I'm not going to sit here and try to. So let's get started. So now Solomon built his own house in 13 years, and he finished all of his house in that time. He also built the house of the forest. Its length was 100 cubits, which is 150 feet. Its width was 50 cubits, which is 75 feet. And its height was 30 cubits, which is 45 feet. Upon 4 rows of cedar pillars with cedar beams upon the pillars. And it was covered with cedar as a roof on the supporting beams that were upon the 45 pillars, and 15 in each row. There were artistic window frames in 3 rows, and window was opposite window in 3 tiers. Okay, all of the doorways and doorposts and windows had squared artistic frames, and window was opposite window in 3 tiers. He also made the hall of pillars. Its length was 50 cubits, which is 75 feet. Excuse me, and its width was 30 cubits, which is 45 feet. There was a porch in front and pillars and a threshold in front of them. He made the hall for the throne where he was to judge, and the hall of judgment. It was paneled with cedar from the one floor to another, and his house where he was to live, the other courtyard behind the hall, was of similar workmanship. Okay, now we're moving up here. Solomon also made the house like the hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had married. These were expensive stones, of stone cut according to measures, sawed with saws inside and outside, even from the foundation to the coping, and from the outside to the great courtyard. The foundation was of expensive stones, large stones, stones of 10 cubits and stones of 8 cubits. And above the foundation were expensive stones cut according to measure in cedar. So the great courtyard all around had 3 rows of cut stone and a row of cedar beams like the inner courtyard of the house of the Lord and the porch of the house. All right, we're moving on to this one. Let's see. Okay. Now King Solomon sent word and brought Hiram, a skilled craftsman from. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of, and his father was a man of. A craftsman in bronze. Hiram was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill for doing any kind of work in bronze. So he came to King Solomon and did all his bronze work. He cast 2 pillars of bronze, and the one pillar was 18 cubits high, and a measuring line of 12 cubits measured the circumference of both. He also made 2 capital crowns of cast bronze to put on the top of the pillars. The height of one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were nets of network and twisted threads of chainwork for the capitals which were on the top of the pillars, 7 for one capital and 7 for the other. So Hiram made the pillars in this manner. And two rows on the one network to cover the capitals which were on the top of the pomegranates, and he did the same for the other capital. The capitals which were upon the top of the pillars in the porch were of lily work designed of 4 cubits. The capitals were on the 2 pillars and also above and close to the rounded projection, which was beside the network. There were 200 pomegranates in row around both capitals. Hiram set up the pillars at the porch of the temple. He set up the right pillar and named it, okay. And he set up the left pillar and named it, okay. On the tops of the pillars was lily work design, so the work of the pillars was finished. Now he made the sea basin of cast metal, 10 cubits from brim to brim, circular in form, 5 cubits high and 30 cubits in circumferences. Under its brim were grounds encircling it 10 to a cubit, completely surrounding the sea. The gourds were in 2 rows cast in one piece with it. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. The sea was set on top of them, and all of their rare parts pointed to inward. And it was a hand width thick, and its brim was made like the brim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It held 2,000 baths. Then Hiram made 10 bronze stands for smaller basins. The length of each stand was 4 cubits, its width was 4 cubits, and its height was 3 cubits. This was the design for the stands, and they had borders between the frames. On the borders between the frames were lions, oxen, and on the frames was there a pedestal above. Beneath the lions and the oxen were borders of hanging work. Now each stand had 4 bronze wheels with bronze axles, and its 4 feet had supports for a basin. Beneath the basin were cast supports with borders at each side. Its opening inside the crown at the top of measured a cubit, and its opening was round like the design of a pedestal, and a cubit and a half. Also in its opening were carvings, and their borders were square, not round. Underneath the borders were 4 wheels, and the axles of the wheels were on the stand, and the height of a wheel was a cubit and a half. The wheel, let's get it. I'm trying to make sure y'all can follow along. The wheels were made like chariot wheel. Their axles, their rims, their spokes, and their hubs were all cast. Now there were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each stand, and the supports were part of the stand itself. On the top of the stand, there were a circular piece, half a cubit high. On the top of the stand, its supports and borders were a part of it. And on the surface of its supports and its borders, Hiram engraved lions and palm-shaped decorations according to the available space for each, with borders all around. He made the 10 stands like this. They all had 1 casting, 1 measure, and 1 form. Then he made basin bronze. Each basin held 40 baths, was 4 cubits, and there was 1 basin on each of the 10 stands. Then he placed the bases, 5 on the right or the south side of the house, and 5 on the left of the north side. And he set the sea of cast metal on the right side of the house toward the southeast. Now Hiram made basin and the shovels and the bowls. So Hiram finished all the work which he did for King Solomon on the house of the Lord. The 2 pillars and the 2 bowls of the capitals which were on top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 networks to cover 2 bowls of the capitals which were on top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, the 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover 2 bowls of the capitals that were on top of the pillars. The 10 stands and the 10 basins on the stands, 1 sea basin, and 12 oxen under the sea. The pails, the shovels, and the bowls, all of these utensils which Hiram made for the King Solomon in the house of the Lord, were polished bronze. In the plain of the Jordan River, the king cast them in the clay ground between... I don't know those words. Solomon left all the utensils unweighed because there was so many. The weight of the bronze could not be determined. Solomon made all of the other furniture which was in the house of the Lord, the incense altar of gold, the table of gold on which was the bread of the presence. The lamp stands of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, in front of the Holy of Holies, inner sanctuary, with the flowers and the lamps and the tongues of gold. The cups, the snuffers, bowls, spoons, and fire pans of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house of the holies of holies, and for the doors of the house in the main room of the holy place. So all of the work that King Solomon did in the house of the Lord was completed, and Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, the silver, the gold, and the utensils, and he put them in the treasuries of the Lord's house. I hope you guys enjoyed this story of how he built his house and how Solomon had everything particular, and also how some things matched to his father David, and how his father David dedicated a lot of stuff to the palace of God. So I just thought that was enjoyable for me. I can't wait for the next chapter, and I will see you on the next video. I'm sorry, I will be more like prepared when I do this, more organized. And yeah, I love you, and enjoy your Memorial week, I guess you can say, or enjoy your week. I love you. Bye.